Welcome to Should You Platinum, a show where I talk about a game I've recently got the platinum in and share my experience of the platinum journey and whether or not I think you should platinum it. And in today's episode I'm going to be donning some spandex and heading to Gotham City to do everything a Batman can, or well, almost. So, should you platinum Gotham Knights on PlayStation 5? For me, the Gotham Knights Platinum was a real mixed bag, to be honest, because by the time that Hair to the Cowl trophy popped, I was kind of relieved that it was over, because this game is kind of just mediocre. For every little thing it does right, like the cool customization of the costumes for each hero, it does a load of things just badly or just really poorly, or you just know that they were done better in the Arkham games, and those Batman Arkham games cast a huge shadow over Gotham Knights, and this one just pales in comparison. I mean, Batman Arkham City, Batman Arkham Knight, and Batman Arkham Asylum, all old games, still kind of look better than this one. And this one has a lot of weird glitches in it, like the cape. That was hardly ever facing the right way for me during a lot of the playthrough and a lot of the cutscenes. It just seemed to have a mind of its own. I really wanted to like this game and the story because it's a nice idea, but it just didn't really click for me, and I was just glad for it to be over, to be honest. So let's take a quick look at a trophy breakdown. In the game you have 39 bronze trophies, 7 silver trophies, 2 gold and 1 platinum, and in total it took me 35 hours to platinum Gotham Knights. So in this game you can choose to play as one of 4 characters: Batgirl, Robin, Nightwing and Red Hood. I decided to choose Batgirl because I figured she would play the most like Batman, and that's the experience I wanted from this game, and her glide ability made travelling through the city a bit easier, though you're free to pick whoever you want and mix and match as you go. So here are a few tips of things I wish I knew when I started playing Gotham Knights. So not equipping gear when I found it was one of the biggest mistakes I made in this game, because I was never really levelling up this suit. There were so many menus at the start of the game and all these little stats and things that I was kind of just overwhelmed, and I just ended up ignoring it. But that was a mistake. So whenever you loot things from the chests or complete missions and get rewards, make sure you go into your menu and just equip the latest costume. You can actually modify your suit so you can keep the costume you like but take the stats from other suits, so you'll definitely want to always go back into these menus and look at your gear and just select any new costumes that you have, because it'll make fighting the enemies a lot easier. I also never bothered crafting anything, and I think that kind of helped in the end because I had a lot of materials to make the legendary gear pieces that you need for one of the trophies. But a mistake I made with that trophy was thinking that you needed to craft a complete matching set when you actually don't. It can be 3 pieces of legendary gear that are for any type, so you don't need to have them all have the exact same name. It doesn't matter, as long as you do 3, 1 for your suit, 1 for the range and 1 for your melee, you'll get that trophy. There was also another trophy for inflicting elemental damage on enemies, and I thought this happened when you see the flame logo appear above their health bar, but that's not actually how it works. For this one, you actually need to fill up that flame meter in order for the elemental damage to take effect, and you can do this with the shock, and I think it's even freeze. But one of the tips I would give you for this is to go into your gear and equip some mod chips that will make the effect occur quicker, because otherwise you might find that when you're throwing your batarangs at it, you kill the enemy before you've built that bar up and you saw them get burnt. Another bit of advice I would give is to unlock all of the fast travel points on the map as soon as possible, because this will help you hunt down all of the collectibles a lot quicker later on in the playthrough. So I know these missions are really annoying because the drones are just really hard to see, but it's definitely something worth doing as you play through the story. Another tip I would give is the map shows the faction presence, so each gang is listed and where they appear in each district. So if you're missing an enemy type for one of those kill trophies, like the Talons, it's worth checking the map to see where they spawn, and then just hang around that area to hope that one of the crimes has that particular gang. You can also use the Heroic Assault DLC that was free to download if you're missing certain enemy types, but be aware, if you want to try and kill the Talons and Court of Owls gangs, you will have to complete about 20 floors in order to get all of those enemy types to spawn, because some of the bigger ones won't appear until later missions in this DLC. Another annoying trophy that you'll definitely want to get out of the way before you start New Game Plus is the trophy for defeating 10 man-bats. So you'll get a bunch of these during the story, but in order to get the rest, you'll have to spawn them in the open world, and luckily they appear on the buildings that you fought them with in the main story, and they also appear on random other buildings. But a tip to get these easier is once you find one that spawns in, kill it, but leave the two other enemies that spawn alive, then just pause the game and quit out to the menu. When you resume, you can go back to that building and it will guarantee that the man-bat will be there again, allowing you to fight him again and get another one off of it. And you can just keep doing that until you've got them all. So now let's talk about step 1, where we're going to play through the game on very easy difficulty because there's no difficulty related trophies. And here you'll want to stop crimes regularly as you progress through the story missions, and you don't really want to craft anything at this point. You can unlock first step into the night by upgrading an ability for the very first time in your skill tree, and one of the trophies you'll want to get fairly early on for your chosen character is the Bronze Knighthood trophy for leveling up their Knighthood ability and unlocking their new traversal ability. So in the case of Batgirl, it is the glide ability, because whatever one you get, it'll make travelling through the city a lot easier, though you will still be using your grapple hook quite a lot. But that's definitely one you want to just focus on with one particular character and get it that way early on. So the rest of the trophies that you're going to get when you play through the story are likely to just be story related trophies. You'll tend to get one near enough after the end of every main mission, and overall the story itself isn't that long. If you just go straight to the main story mission after my main story mission, you'll likely beat Gotham Knights in around 6 hours, because like I said, the story itself is rather short and it's not really that challenging, to be honest, so it shouldn't really give you too much trouble. And as there's no difficulty related trophies, you are free to just play this on very easy difficulty, and by the time the end credits roll, you'll have unlocked the Bronze Gotham Knight trophy for beating the game's story. Along the way, during that, you will likely have unlocked a few other miscellaneous trophies. One of the ones I got was the Bronze Out of Their League trophy for defeating so many of the Court of Owls enemies. So this is one that you may or may not get, but it's very easy because there's a lot of these enemies towards the end of the game in the game's story missions, particularly that final mission where you just have to fight wave after wave of them as you try and get to the boss fight, so you'll probably get it there like I did. Another one you'll probably get is the Bronze Get Wrecked trophy. So if you're stopping some random crimes throughout the city, which is what you should be doing during your first playthrough, you'll likely have stumbled across this one. So it was a group of thugs trying to break into the armoured truck and rob it, and once you defeat the enemies, you can actually get prompted to look inside the truck, and you'll see this thing that pops up and it will give you the trophy for doing it. And that's just one that you're bound to come across as you play. Another one that I got was a bronze trophy called Something in the Clay. Now this was for sort of starting the Clayface side missions, but these can be done at any point during your playthrough, and you'll want to get them all done before you start New Game Plus, so they'll just come along naturally. As I was playing through, I was just finding these clay thugs, and after defeating so many of them, I had killed enough in order to get this trophy to pop. So that's just another one that you might have just got as you've stopped crimes in the city. The bronze trophy called A Worthy Successor is unlocked by upgrading all of the specialist abilities that your character has. These are the knighthood abilities, so there's not as many of these as the other skill tree, but these are specific things for the knighthood sort of traversal and moves that she can do. So Batgirl had a drone, and once you unlock all of those, you'll get that trophy. Okay, so now we're on to step 2, which is the cleanup of 100% before going on to New Game Plus, because it would lock us out of a few trophies. So we want to make sure we've got all of the collectibles, all of the side missions done, and all of the combat related trophies before moving on from this step. So these include all of the Harley Quinn side missions, the Mr. Freeze missions, and the Clayface missions, as well as the bike time trials, and all of the collectibles from the secret caches, the batarangs, the landmarks, and the murals. And it may take you a while, but I'll definitely use an online guide to find all of those a lot quicker. There's also a solid alibi for protecting Bruce Wayne's secret identity, and another trophy for finding all of the Court of Owl's book pages called Read Owl About It. So that's another collectible type that you're going to have to get with a guide, because they are quite hard to find. Another tricky trophy is the Silver Knot on My Watch trophy, which requires you to complete all premeditated crimes in a single night, and you do this by first solving a load of crimes during the night, which will then build up this red meter, which is a magnifying glass on the top right corner of the map screen. And you can see the magnifying glasses going into Batgirl there. Every time you stop a crime, you'll find clues, and once you fill it up fully, so it no longer levels up, you can then start the next night, and then you just have to complete all of the red premeditated crimes without failing them to get that trophy. There's another trophy that you'll get, probably just naturally without even knowing, and that's for completing 50 challenges. So when you're playing through story missions, you'll often find little challenges in the top corner of the screen, such as evade so many enemies, get so many stealth kills, do some super moves or whatever, and after you beat so many of them, you'll unlock the Protector of Gotham trophy. There's a bronze trophy called In Your Element. The bronze In Your Element trophy requires you to inflict elemental damage on enemies so many times, and this is the trophy that I mentioned earlier in the tips section. So you want to make sure you've leveled up your character and added mod chips onto your gear in order to increase the effectiveness of the elemental damage. And then once you see yourself, for example, burn an enemy like that on screen now, you'll know you've done that move right, and once you do it so many times, you'll get that trophy. There's also a trophy for completing all of the tutorial missions. You can find these in the Belfry during the day. It's over on the left hand side behind all the monitors where all the training equipment is. And these are just really simple training exercises where you just have to dodge so many times or attack so many enemies. It just basically teaches all of the moves, and you might not be able to do them all straight away because you'll need to unlock your momentum abilities, but once you've got all those unlocked, you should be able to complete every single challenge there. And the rest of the trophies are just basically now just a case of killing so many of each enemy type in order to unlock them. There's also that Man-Bat one that you want to make sure you get before starting New Game Plus, and remember to use that trick that I showed in the tips section earlier. And then again, yeah, it's just more of these kill combat based trophies, getting all your momentum abilities unlocked, and then also remembering that we can move on to Heroic Assault to boost all of these combat related trophies, because otherwise it will take you a long time and you might be wandering around the city for ages to try and find the enemy type that you need. But with the Heroic Assault missions, you know fully well that you're going into a mission on a floor with a particular gun type, and more often than not you'll find all the enemies you need for those trophies in them. So as I was playing through those, and I think I did about 20 something floors, I had found enough enemies and killed enough enemies in those to get all of those trophies. There's also a bronze trophy called the Batman Family for playing as all of the Gotham Knights, but really you only have to switch to them and then you can immediately switch back to another one and you'll easily get that trophy. And again, it's just more Heroic Assault at this point, doing all of the floors in order to both level up your character and get all of these combat trophies. Like those annoying drone enemies, you'll get them in there as well, so it's worth doing those because you can fight multiple ones in a floor instead of just one in a crime. There's a silver trophy for doing your gear, so like I said in the tips section, these don't have to be all of the same named category type. They can be just any legendary gear for your suit, your ranged weapon, and your close combat weapon. As long as they all have a legendary one crafted, you'll get that trophy, no problems. So the final enemy type that I needed was for the talented trophy, which required you to get there was a load of enemy types, and that one took a long time, but again, you can also use the heroic assault to get that one. The bronze fusion expert requires you to fuse 50 times, I think, and it's done in one of the menus where you can fuse the mod chips, and you basically just have to select 4 and then fuse them all together. So I just always picked the lowest numbered ones, and like I said, I didn't craft anything throughout the entire game, so at the end of the game I had plenty of these mod chips, and I just did a load in a row, and once I did all of them for the trophy, it then popped. So now we're ready to move on to step 3 with all of those trophies unlocked, and that requires us to start New Game Plus, and it's here where we're going to reach the maximum level of 40, because in your first game playthrough you can only get to 30, and we're more than likely going to have to stop the 250 crimes here. But as we've been working towards this gold expert crime fighter, you should hopefully not have to do too many during the New Game Plus run, because we don't really want to be playing New Game Plus for long, because we're going to use the heroic assault to level up our character a lot faster. So just go around the city and continue to stop any crimes you see. They can be the little white ones, the little purple ones, or the red premeditated crime ones. It doesn't matter, as long as you do stop them successfully, it'll count towards the trophy. And then likely the final trophy you'll need is the gold He'd Be So Proud trophy for reaching the maximum level of 40. And again, I did this by just playing through some of the heroic assault floors. From 20 onwards you'll get a lot of XP just from getting through the waves of enemies, and I just found it to be the fastest way to do it, because I didn't have to play a load of the boring story missions where you had to solve awkward puzzles. I could just do combat and get XP that way. And then after getting that trophy, which should be your final one, you'll get the platinum trophy, Hair to the Cowl, and you would have beaten Gotham Knights. So I guess after that, all I need to do now is give my final verdict as to whether you should play it, platinum it, or just downright avoid it. And well, to be honest, with Gotham Knights, it's easily for me it's a bad result for Gotham Knights, to be honest, because this was a really dull platinum journey that I didn't really enjoy, and I stopped and started it constantly. This game was constantly getting uninstalled and reinstalled on my console because better games were coming out and I just played them instead. I started this in February 2023 and beat it in April 2023. So yeah, I would definitely say avoid this game.